Thank you, Tatum. Good morning, everybody. Today we're discussing how to reduce risk, avoid costly mistakes in operations, and meet sustainability expectations where you, as operators, are most exposed without complicating the actual operations. I'm Candy Tothill-Kruger, co-founder of the Ask Group and Corporate Affairs Management Consultant for Southern Sun, as well as the Environmental Consultant for the HCI Group of Companies. And it's my great pleasure to introduce our panelists today, who are all experts in their field. The subject matter is one of, I think, the key topics for 2026, because sustainability is no longer a marketing add-on. It is a governance issue, it is a procurement issue, and it is a risk issue. Increasingly, ESG expectations are built into corporate travel, procurement, insurance underwriting, investment criteria, and supply chain agreements. At the same time, I know you as operators in the audience are under a great deal of pressure with rising costs, staffing challenges, tighter margins, and sustainability can feel like just one more burden that we all have to accommodate. But the real question isn't whether sustainability matters. It's this: where are hospitality businesses most exposed, and what must we get right without adding operational chaos to the mix? And I think that's the fine line that we need to strike, and that's what we're hoping to do today during this panel discussion. I am absolutely delighted to introduce our panel of experts. And I'm hoping that you are going to be able to give us the answers we're seeking, because it is a big topic. And I think for the most part, it's one of those topics that up until now has been regarded as a peripheral subject that we just all have to deal with. We don't really regard sustainability as a license to operate. We don't regard it as a regulated, necessarily, activity within our businesses. So starting off with Lorraine Jenks. Lorraine has been working in the sustainability field since the 70s, long before it was a mainstream subject. Her career began with the Environmental Protection Agency in California, and she later trained as a climate reality leader under the Vice President of the US, Al Gore. I myself had the pleasure of working with you, Lorraine, during our time at Southern Sun, and so I can attest to her deep understanding of the procurement world and how sustainability needs to integrate with our procurement decisions and our suppliers. I know that we can expect you to bring your expertise, but also your journey. When we were discussing the subject earlier, the amazing insights that you have to offer us regarding the practical implementation of sustainability imperatives on the basis of the journey that you've undertaken. Then we also have Jane Russell from Bidfood South Africa. Welcome, Jane. And she is the Quality Risk Executive heading up quality, safety, and compliance systems across one of the country's largest food service suppliers. Jane's work gives her a clear view into supplier traceability, documentation risk, regulatory exposure, and how sustainability expectations interact with food safety and operational accountability. That is a mouthful. And then finally, I think giving us the operational practicality, the reality of what it's like to be in an operation and have to accommodate sustainability, we have Gustav Pieterse, who's the general manager across the Saxon Hotel Group, as well as the chair of Fedhasa Inland. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So welcome to you all, and thank you for being with us today. Now, I know we want to all get straight into it. So Lorraine, I'd like to start with you. Could you talk to us about your journey and give us a bigger picture perspective about why climate change matters, why it's essential to the hospitality industry, and a couple of practical tips that you can offer that make it sound a bit less daunting and much more meaningful for our operators?
Right, in my hippie days, you want some lessons? I don't remember a lot, but it was fun. But we learned about climate change, civil rights, women's rights, anti-Vietnam, and we protested and we marched and we won. So protesting works. Came home with all this wonderful knowledge about going green and what is organic, and we called it global warming. Came back, I'm a teacher by profession, and thankfully a Montessori additional diploma, because I think that's my success, is my Montessori training. So when you give a talk on what you believe in, people remember it if you use that method of presenting. Came back to South Africa and by accident, complete accident, got a job at the Southern Sun head office as a contract and purchasing manager. I knew absolutely nothing about procurement, supply chain, but you learn. Girls are good, especially the Buramaces, I tell you, we mark a plan. Hey? So I got in there 15 years. Now I've got all this knowledge. And I look around me and there's rubbish. There is plastic and there's toxic chemicals where you had to wear full, PPE outfits to wash the walls. The chemicals were so poisonous, and plastic, as I said, everywhere. So I start now trying to change the thinking of my team. We were in the development team. This was one of our developments. The convention center was our first green. We tried to make it green.
And
then several others after that. And then if you look around you, every single thing has to be bought. Everything you at home eat, sleep, play with, drink, drive, work at, sleep on, wear.
Absolutely.
Every single thing has an impact on the environment. So this was my very broad thinking. And I started with the suppliers that we were using. And, you know, honestly, to be fair, they weren't being delinquent. I was just ahead of my time, 20 years ahead of my time.
Absolutely, 100%
So
agree.
I'm not cross with
I
them.
remember when we had, right here in the Sandton Convention Center, the World Summit on Sustainable Development. We hosted it in South Africa in 2002, and we had just opened the Sandton Convention Center in 2000. And the lengths that were gone to make sure, as you say, that this was a green building. And it was really quite an unusual architectural build because of all the green, we call it green, accommodated aspects. Now that is common practice. So that just goes to show how far we've come as South Africa. We were trailing Europe a little bit, weren't we?
Yeah.
And the UK, especially.
Yeah. And then just to say, how many of you are hoteliers? And how many of you are suppliers? How many of you in the food industry? Oh, we need a separate talk here. I also speak on sustainable and ethical food. Join Slow Food International. Sorry, Slow Food International. Listen, Slow Food International. They are trying to identify all the original ethnic foods that are dying out, cultivating them before they're gone forever. So anything your granny remembers, let us know. It gets registered and recorded. And everything is about organic, safe, fair food.
Yes.
For anyone in the food industry, yeah. A whole separate topic.
Just to go back to what we were saying earlier when you were talking about the purchasing and the PPE and so on, I was wondering if you could sort of give us a sense of what a carbon light kitchen actually looks like. Is that something that's kind of the average installation nowadays, that we install carbon light machinery and equipment, or is that still something that is kind of an extraordinary undertaking?
I think, they were one of the first to wake up. Appliances, and you'll see you can get a rating of how green an appliance actually is. So go for the green. It might cost you a little more, but it will cost you less to run. Probably uses less water, definitely uses less energy, and of course is good for the whole environment. And they are amazing machines. We did 2 exercises in the corner here. In my early days, I was completely mad. I booked 100 square meters and turned it into 5 rooms to prove you could furnish every single room in a hotel with an eco-friendly product, just to prove you could do it. And what we also did was the opposite. We created a kitchen with no electricity. Think about how your granny coped in her kitchen. How did she keep things cool?
That's fascinating.
Something hanging in the tree with a sack around and water dripping through the sack. Put something on the stove, get it hot, put a blanket over it, switch the stove off. Little things like that to show what you can do.
Yeah.
There are amazing appliances. Look for them. There's a dishwasher that it's an industrial dishwasher. It uses its own steam to reheat the next round of water.
Amazing.
Uses the same water recycled. So very, very efficient.
Innovations are incredible.
Wonderful stuff out there, yeah.
And along with all technology, it's advancing, at such a rapid pace. And what does it mean then for things like cost control in procurement? Cost control
Oh
in
my goodness!
procurement.
I think you have to look at
It's part of it.
Look long term. Hoteliers, I feel sorry for them because they look at this month's bottom line. With carpeting, when I was with Southern Sun, my God, they kept replacing it. I said, get a good carpet that's eco-friendly. Clean it with eco-friendly powder, never steam. It will last you 15 years instead of 4 years. But they
so the
can't.
impact is actually beneficial
You've got to look long term
to the cost
and
saving.
keep it simple. My secret is stop making it complicated. So your most important things are energy saving,
Exactly.
water management,
Yes.
and waste.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 main things. And then after that, you look at the life cycle of everything you buy. Anything you buy, before you buy it, you pretend you're talking to a small child and you say to that child says to you, Mommy or Daddy, tell me where this comes from. Let me tell you how hard that is. You're going to have to tell him that little kids in the Congo dug the metals out of mud. It traveled with pollution. When it was made, it polluted the air again. They used a slave labor to make it. How was it transported? How was it packaged? What happened when you use it? And most important, how do you get rid of it? If you show your kid pictures of how you get rid of all those things, he's going to say, but you knew, Daddy.
That's
and
so
you bought it
important
anyway.
To point out this concept of a life cycle, and I know that some people refer to it as cradle to grave, where you are responsible for it actually prior to cradle, which is actually why we're talking procurement and purchasing today. Because before the item comes into your environment, into your boundaries of what you've determined as the boundary of your responsibility as a business, you need to have done your research on where it's coming from, how it's manufactured, who's supplying it to you. So it's almost like inception to grave, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and you also, with Lorraine saying, keep it simple. Focus on these 3 particular areas, being your carbon emissions, which are a result of your energy consumption, etc., and how you consume your energy. Secondly, your water and how you're disposing and discharging your water, how you're withdrawing it, how much you are withdrawing, how much you're recycling, where it's coming from. And then lastly, the waste aspect, isn't it, sir?
The waste is huge.
And diversion from landfill. That's the big...
Diversion from landfill for me is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Because there was a crowd in Las Vegas who, the little amenities bottles, little plastic bottles, they said, oh, these are ridiculous. They're going into landfill. Let's collect them all. So they sent them all to Boy Scouts and Girl Guides who thought they were being very good people. And they packed them in boxes. And they put the boxes on a truck. The truck went to the ships. The ship came and dumped these bottles with poor black kids in Africa. So they would go up to a little kid and say, you're very poor and you're dirty. Here's a little bottle of shampoo, body lotion or whatever. I stopped that. They don't get the picture.
Yes.
That's reducing landfill. That's not sorting the plastic problem at all.
And I think I'd like to move on to you, Jane, now, because I think you're just being in the food services industry, this would have a big place in your assessments, your compliance, etc. So what I wanted to also bring into that part of the conversation is to say sustainability doesn't sit in isolation anymore, isn't it? It's integrated into every facet and aspect of a business. And so where would you say operators would be most vulnerable? Where's the biggest gap at the moment for Bidfood at the moment?
Okay, so as a distributor,
Yes.
we are relied on heavily by customers across all different channels that we operate. So we have a myriad of different customer channels, some very formal, like a hotel chain, who would like to work with us because they can trust us to do all the background checks. But then there's all the more independent operators who are out there running their businesses because it's their passion, wanting to do the right things, but not understanding that it doesn't sit only with the supply chain, it then goes into a further value chain when it hits their premises.
Yeah.
So you almost have to camp the two into different compartments and say, well, if I'm dealing with very structured customers, they have an understanding of the sustainability requirements, and we just need to help build onto that when we are sourcing products and make sure that the certifications, the responsible processes in procurement and sourcing of products are handled. It's a foregone conclusion when you work with Bidfood that we've taken care of that. But I think the important thing for me as I've evolved in this role over the years, because it is an evolution. There's no handbook. Nobody can give you a guide and say, this is how you do it, go away and do it, and you'll get a gold star.
Yeah,
because every
absolutely.
month things change and the demands change, and new triggers are released in terms of what is the flavor of the month. So my concern is the perception in the value chain that if you're dealing with a responsible supplier or distributor, that it's all taken care of and that you don't have to worry about it. And I think that is where the biggest gap is.
Exactly.
Is because for an owner-operator or a small operator, it's very onerous to now take this sustainability process further and make sure that you're not only procuring well, but you are handling the product well, that you are disposing of the waste correctly and making sure that you're using all the channels that are available to you,
Absolutely.
but are cost effective. Because at the end of the day, sustainability is like a triangle.
Yeah.
It's got to be an equilateral triangle. If that's
Yeah.
the only thing I remember from geometry, it's the equilateral triangle.
Exactly.
Because it's all got to be in balance. It's got to
Equal,
be a
yeah.
balance between the environment, between the people that we work with internally and externally, and it's also got to be financially viable. It's got to make sense. It's got to make you cost effective, it's got to make you money, and it's got to give back into this, what we now call the circular economy.
Exactly.
And those are big topics that I've sort of
Yes.
dropped into this
Yeah.
conversation. But each one of them needs to be unpacked so that you can own a part of this process as an operator. Because often I get requests. Jane, can we do this? Can you write us a letter? Can you tell us that Bidfood is doing that? Well, I'm going to come clean with you. We don't have a sustainability policy. Why not? We're a JSE listed company, and the reason why is because I won't put my name on it, because it is such a big topic that we cannot
Complexity. Yeah.
encompass it in one document that we can put a full stop at the end of the page on. It's an evolution.
Yeah.
So we do what we do, and we make sure that we build the sustainable processes into it so that we live the values, because it becomes part of your corporate and your business values. It's not a piece of paper that you pull out when somebody wants an answer.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I am personally terrified about is and I use this phrase, I don't want to be part of a greenwashing society.
Yes.
Because I think that is a trap that a lot of people fall into when they are pressurized to give answers about sustainability. It's quick and easy to say, this is free range, or this is sustainably sourced, or it's biodegradable, or it's green packaging. Because before you know it, you've actually walked this perilous line of making claims that are not valid.
Yeah.
So
That's brings me to my next question, which is, what is the most expensive mistake we can make? Because, you know, to me, reputation, you spend a lifetime building a reputation of an organization, and it just takes one mistake, unknowingly,
correct,
out of ignorance, and the reputation is basically damaged forever.
I think it's aligning yourself to things that bring you quick success without digging a little bit deeper into your organizational value system, and also putting your money where your mouth is. So none of this comes for free. That's the other flip side of it. When you're investing in a sustainable journey, you are investing, and it's a long-term investment. It's our lives, it's our children's lives, it's our grandchildren's planet that we're dealing with. So you've got to put your reputation on the line. You've got to make sure that you do your homework. You've got to make sure that you align with service providers, internal, external, that whatever you're doing, you know what you're dealing with, and that you're not just taking it at face value. Because the reputation you have today could be gone tomorrow because somebody exposes you for not having thought it through and not having depth in your processes.
Absolutely.
So it's a big question, Candy, to
it's
say
a big
what
question.
What
the
is
most
dangerous
expensive
thing?
I think that you've actually encapsulated the whole broad topic there, in the sense that there isn't only one mistake that you can make. They all are connected, and even the smaller mistakes or the less costly ones can have a massive negative impact.
And I think in the sustainability journey, whichever way we look at it, there's always somebody shouting louder than the next person, depending on the agenda of the day. So, you know, and there's a lot of threat that can come with it for particularly a corporate entity, where you are threatened to be exposed, or you are challenged,
the
or
risk,
you are pushed by your customer to do things that you don't actually subscribe to, and you know that don't have depth. But you want to retain a relationship, you want to maintain the business, so it's a fine balancing
act. It's the
act.
balance, as you said.
And that's one of the reasons why I've never had the courage to put pen to paper and write up sustainability policy for Bidfood. And I've often been questioned by the likes of customers who say, we want your sustainability policy. And I said, it's just another piece of paper. We don't need more paper. But apart from that, we need to be able to measure and account for everything we say. So we'll take baby steps, perfect those baby steps, make sure that the diligence is done in the background to ensure that we can stand by what we pass on into the value chain and into our suppliers going forward.
And do you work it then into your procurement policy? Has that got an aspect of environmental compliance within it, or at least environmental information collecting?
Definitely does.
Okay. So
I
then,
think very much
in
on
some
our
way,
own
that
brand.
covers it, rather than having a standalone sustainability policy. Because, as we were saying, integration is the name of the game.
For sure.
So it's the idea of a separate standalone policy doesn't even really provide the business with any real value.
Nothing.
The value is to integrate it into all your other activities and policies.
And to live it.
Exactly.
Live it daily. And I think the bigger thing is that we are a distributor of a lot of known brands and a lot of brand leading products. But when we start developing, and part of my portfolio involves new product development for our own brands, our private label brands, which are registered to us, that's when we probably do a lot more due diligence in terms of drilling into the sustainability of the packaging. At present, I'm busy starting to, excuse the pun, but unpack our products in terms of saying, well, 15 years ago, food safety was the big buzz. Everybody was on about food safety compliance. So we overpacked products. Whereas now we can start doing things in a different way because we've got different
Exactly.
technologies.
Thinking differently.
So we can start
Yeah.
reducing packaging. And those are the types
It's
of
a great
initiatives that
example.
we can use
Great
a
example.
lot better.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
And that brings me then to the concept of the operator reality. And Gustav, you're implementing these sorts of expectations in luxury environments where guest experience cannot afford to suffer. So what does sustainability compliance actually look like on the ground for you at the Saxon, for example?
Yeah, I think sustainability is a very big word that many people in South Africa struggle to spell, never mind implement. And what we do is we choose to look at something that we are doing every single day and start with that. Because if you can make that change every single day, there's a greater impact. But with the whole story around sustainability, it isn't only about the product, it's about people as well. And if we choose to support locally, and you're bringing people, and it might cost you a little more, but you're doing so much more for the economy. You
Yeah.
are driving an SME to succeed and employ more people, and you're turning that into a fundamental part of your story as a hospitality environment, a restaurant, into what it is that you are selling. You are adding value by spending a few cents more to support local to make sure that you are delivering an exquisite product.
Yeah. And where do high-end properties face the greatest ESG scrutiny as a matter of interest?
I think the expectation is, and the view from a lot of the world is that South Africa or Africa isn't quite as advanced as the rest of the world. So the expectation is that the technology and the product must be brought in from elsewhere. And because you're doing that, you're kind of destroying the whole narrative around what sustainability is.
Okay, so you're importing more than local.
A lot of
You're
hospitality
sort of
establishments are.
needing to do that. I
Absolutely.
See. Okay.
But the reality is, and we noticed this especially with COVID, when we didn't have the opportunity to import, is that the products are here. You must just be willing to look. You must be willing to have the conversation. You might have to build the logistical landscape to make sure that you can obtain these products and that the consistency is there. But there is a lot of legwork involved in that, but it's absolutely worth it.
Okay. And when did your organization start deliberately heading into this journey of sustainability? Has
I
it
think
been a decade, or is it more recent, or
It's probably been just over a decade. I think the reality is that you start leaning into sustainability when one part of your business starts to suffer. So firstly, infrastructure might suffer. There's not enough water to look after your guests. Now you think we've
The
got to be more
practicalities
conservative with our water
of
to take
being
care of
in
our
Josie?
guests. 100%.
Yeah.
And then you have the realities of COVID has happened. You don't have people flying in. What can we do locally to bring in or provide a quality amenity to the guests staying at the hotel? You can't fly in bottles from abroad to bottle the water, so you find a local plant that's able to give you the certification that this water is sustainably sourced as well.
Exactly.
So there are a bunch of different avenues, and it's when a lot of times out of necessity that we follow these requirements, but also when you see the spin-off upside of the guest expectation being exceeded because
Yeah.
you did it with something
And
that they
that's what
can
I
find
was
on their
going to get
doorstep.
to. You've actually answered my question before I asked it. Once the sustainability innovation has been introduced and implemented, born out of necessity, it actually has got a very positive impact on the guest, because suddenly the guest is like, wow, these people know exactly what they're doing, and they don't get subject to load shedding. The electricity is always on. We heard of, you kind of like also change public perception about South Africa, especially if you're dealing with international guests coming in, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think you also stimulate a sense of tourism, because not only do the
That's
guests want to
right.
enjoy it at your property, they want to see where this comes from. Say,
Yeah.
go show me what it is that you're talking about. And you actually create an entire experience out of that. And once you buy into that emotional engagement from the guest, you've got a guest for life.
That's right, exactly. So you're almost aligning your values with the guest values in some way.
Absolutely.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much. That was very enlightening, I must say. Now we've spoken about exposure, we've spoken about risk, we've spoken about opportunity. Now I want to simplify. So now I want to talk about a few short, sharp questions that I'm going to ask you. Please feel free to answer if you'd like to. And so the first question is, if an operator wants to reduce climate risk this year, what is the first action you believe they should take? Please. Anyone can answer.
I'm happy to throw a comment in there. I think there's an area that any hotel and restaurant see as a massive contributor to waste and power that goes into delivery of the items, and that's food. There's a huge logistical burden that goes into getting food to a hotel. The process in storing that uses a lot of electricity. Preparing the food, it's gas and electricity, man hours. Then you put it out for the guests to enjoy, and when it's done, you've got food waste that comes back, and that's not being actively managed.
Exactly.
So if you address that full life cycle or value chain of a simple carrot that goes into a plate that isn't consumed, I think you address a major part of a negative impact that the industry has.
Excellent advice. So anyone who hasn't started out on the journey, 2026 is your year to start. That's, I think, the way to go. Begin with your life cycle of your products that you're buying. Okay, then next question is, what is currently overhyped? In other words, where are we overcomplicating things unnecessarily?
With certificates and regulations, and it goes on and on and on and on. So I think draw up your own. I've got a wonderful template I can lend you on how to choose the greenest product of anything you see in this whole room, the building down to the toothpicks, to keep it easy for you so you don't have to think anymore. And you look at your key performance areas of every single product and make them yours. They don't have to be what the educators give you. So what is the most important to you? Water for South Africa. It's not just cost, delivery, service backup and that sort of thing. Make your own and show that to the guests. They will love to see that. And visit your suppliers, especially food.
Yep.
They tell you this comes out of a mountain. Bull, comes from a borehole.
That is great.
It doesn't
That's
matter,
nice.
but they must say so.
Yeah, exactly. Food labeling.
Yes.
Yeah. And then where can operators make the biggest impact without increasing the operational load?
The biggest impact can be made by simplifying their systems, by insourcing a lot of processes rather than outsourcing processes, but empowering their people and training their people about these overburdensome topics that we're talking about, and with these big long words that none of us can spell.
Exactly.
Just keep it simple. Bring it home.
Make it relevant.
Make it
Yeah,
relevant
to
to
your
what
business.
you're doing. So you
Yeah.
touched on the food waste. That's something really close to my heart.
Yeah.
When you start to unpack the basics of running an operation,
Yeah.
start with the good old-fashioned plan.
Exactly.
Plan your menu. Keep your menu simple. Don't overcomplicate them. Add your own signature to it, but do it within your means, and teach your people in every step of the process they are part of the solution as well.
Exactly.
Because a lot of what we teach at work goes home. And from my food safety experiential days, if you teach somebody to wash their hands at work frequently, they take that behavior
That's absolutely
home.
right.
And
Yeah,
suddenly
you're
you
passing it
change
all
a whole
along.
culture.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult.
What a wonderful way to end and to wrap our panel discussion on sustainability. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
In closing, what I just want to sum up is, first of all, I wanted to draw the point, which is what all three of you have been saying, is that sustainability in 2026 is not about being perfect. It is actually about protection. So what that means is that we're protecting our margins, we're protecting our reputations, we are protecting access to procurement, and we are protecting future business. And we are protecting ourselves from risk because we've really taken the opportunity to examine the macro risks out there. And make sure that in difficult scenarios that are presented to our businesses will continue to be sustainable. Ultimately, what running a better, more profitable hospitality business is about being sustainable. And that's what sustainability is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great.
So thank you very much to our wonderful panelists. Thank you to our audience. And thanks to Hostex for hosting this lovely venue.
Thank you.